David Lynch is known as a legendary filmmaker, not because his films are cinematic masterpieces, even if they are visually appealing, or because they have memorable characters, but because the journey is always thought-provoking. His style is odd but intriguing, and always leaves you with more questions than answers, even if things seem simple at first. Hello and welcome to my channel. Here I review new movies and television shows, and try to release a new review every day from Monday to Friday. Today I'm going over the film, Something in the Dirt. It's written, co-directed by, and stars Justin Benson. It's also co-directed by and stars Aaron Moorhead. Something in the Dirt is an indie film on steroids that captures the soul of David Lynch in a bottle and waves it around like it's lightning. It's terribly interesting, but has no answers for you. It's all about the journey. At times it feels a little pretentious and nauseatingly artistic, and at times it feels a little boring. But the questions this film asks will have your brain working overtime for the next week as you recall all the little details and start weaving together all of the threads. The journey follows Levi and John. Levi moves into a new place in a hurry and forgets to buy smokes. He sees one of his new neighbors outside and goes to ask if he can borrow one. His neighbor John gives him a cigarette and they quickly become friends. A few days later, when John and Levi are moving some furniture into Levi's apartment, John sees Levi's crystal ashtray start to float and give off a strange light. When Levi sees it too, the two of them find themselves drawn into a supernatural event that only they can document. The story is a little long and drawn out, but it keeps its mystery well, and is quite thought-provoking. The movie presents two alternate stories, one far more plausible than the other, but with enough missing details that either story could be true. The characters are fascinating, the supernatural elements are well done, and the transformation of John and Levi's relationship over the course of the film is a train wreck that you can't look away from. John is a perplexing mystery that only gets more interesting over time, and watching him slowly sink into his obsession reminded me a lot of Dean Corso from The Ninth Gate. I love the question the film leaves you with, and the more I talk about it, the more I feel like John dipping into his obsession. The one thing I didn't like was how many montages the film used while the actors were telling their stories. Even if the visuals are sometimes interesting, random disconnected shots that are vaguely related to what the characters are talking about are confusing and boring, especially when you do it every 5 minutes. If they had used this gimmick less, it would have improved the film and cut down the drawn-out feeling. The cast is fantastic, and the two leads, Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, do an incredible job of their roles. Justin Benson as Levi starts off as a normal guy trying to pick up the pieces of his life. Throughout the film, he shows off his talent as a storyteller while nailing the emotional aspects of his character. He goes from a normal guy trying to make things work to a paranoid scaredy cat that just wants to run away. Aaron Moorhead plays John, who seems to have the opposite reaction to Levi. At the beginning of the film, he seems like a well-adjusted adult who's just trying to be friendly. Slowly, over the course of the film, he lets the veneer slip and reveals a psychotic persona that would rival even the Joker. His obsession is written on his face when he's staring with this creepy smile into a blinding light without even squinting a little. The production quality of this film is a bit of an enigma to me. It may simply come down to preference. The film looks like a found footage horror film or a documentary, and that does play into the story quite well, but at times the camera's shaking or the graininess can be a bit much. I find that the fuzz makes my head a little dizzy, and with the amount of shaking I had to look away periodically. There's a lot of interesting visual choices like the montages they used or the different effects they created for the phenomenon, but the film tends to be overly artistic, sometimes to a nauseating degree. The soundtrack is form-fitting and effective, but not memorable. There's a lot of boilerplate tracks that are timed exceptionally, coming in at the perfect moment and then fading away quickly. The tracks are there to accompany the scenery and amplify the emotions. Something in the Dirt feels like a David Lynch movie, and it nails the supernatural intrigue mixed with a human nature vibe. It's a little long and definitely artsy, but it's a thought-provoking horror with incredible acting, a great story, and a fantastic atmosphere. If you're looking for something a little different, give this a go. 8 out of 10.